This is the Misdirected Mark Podcast, a podcast about gaming, game mastering, and entertaining you, our listeners. We are explicit, you have been warned, and I'd like to thank Mike Willard for letting us use his music on our show. Now let's pick up those mics and get on with this thing.
Yeah, baby. 3, 2, 1, let's jam. We are here.
Oh,
Welcome
boy.
to the show.
This place is a mess.
Oh, yeah. We got bottles and containers and stuff all over the place.
How long have we been in here?
I don't know. I think it's only been like an episode or two.
Like 4.
4? Really?
Yeah.
Seriously? Wow. This year, man. I'm like losing track of the passage of weeks. What is it now? Like April?
June, dude.
Really? June, huh? Wow.
I think we should probably clean this place up and act normal.
Yeah, we should. But first, let me say that this is the 4th Salon episode of the Misdirected Mark Podcast. Tonight, we remain in the Salon, sequestered from the pandemic, as we talk about things going on in our lives and the gaming topics surrounding them. We'll then jump over to the conversation corner and talk about what else is going on in our lives. But first, I'm Old Man Logan.
I'm Geo Gerrymander.
And I'm Phil. And first, we'd like to start off the show by simply saying Black Lives Matter. And Happy Pride. I'm sporting my Fate Overcome Pride shirt tonight.
There you go.
Good. And to get the show started, let's talk about how we are doing as humans. So, Bob, without going into not your one thing, but
yeah.
like, how are you doing overall?
Not too bad. My neck and shoulders are a hot mess. I really, really need to break down and call my chiropractor and see what we can do about getting in there and getting a little crack-a-lacka. And I would kill for a massage, but I know the massage isn't going to happen just quite yet. But other than that, I've been liberally applying, like icy hot to my neck and doing exercises, not as many as I should. I have a range of exercises that I've been supposed to have been doing for the last 3 months that I have not been doing. So shame on me. Otherwise, mentally, not too bad. It's been, it's been a week since we did this. Not sure where that week went. It was the light week, so, there wasn't a game like every other night, but so that makes it kind of blur a little bit more when there isn't a lot of distinct things going on. But yeah, I'm hanging in there. What about you, Jerry?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty much healthy as always. Things got better. I have really bad asthma, and so sometimes mowing the lawn's a bit of a trouble. So we hired a local guy who does a lot of the lawns in our neighborhood, and it was supposed to just be him come by and just do the grass cutting. And he came by today, and they did edging and they did weed whacking. My lawn has never looked this good because I don't do edging or weed whacking. So,
oh man, that's
try
nice.
edging.
Yeah.
Whoa, hello.
That's an after show thing. Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Starting the after show early tonight. Wow.
So, but no, it looks really good, and I'm very happy with it. The price is ridiculously affordable, and they've got my vote. So I mean, I can always do any stuff we need to do that can be trimmed up, but they were just amazing, and it was really nice. So feels good. How about you, Phil?
I'm doing a lot better, actually. I'll talk a little bit more about it in detail in the conversation corner, but I was pretty wrung out last week. Not to say that I am less concerned or less troubled about the events of the world, but I had a really good therapy session on Thursday, and I feel more capable of handling it by having set some boundaries for myself.
Good.
That were very much needed. By I think this time last week, I was pretty much a mess. Like we we hadn't recorded Pandas because we couldn't even get on the mics Monday night, and by Thursday I was still mostly just like blah. But like I said, I had a really good therapy session, well timed, because I only have one a month, so I happened right upon it. So when we get the conversation corner, I'll talk about a little bit more what I did in the self-care department. But needless to say, this week I'm again troubled and concerned, but I am balanced. I'm troubled and concerned, and I'm being healthy about it, which I think is probably where I was supposed to land. So, all right, cool. Let's move on from how we're doing to talk about one thing. What's one thing that's going on in your world right now?
So I officially started changing my work schedule. I got up yesterday morning at the normal time and clocked in at 6:45, 6:46, something like that, and was like, yeah, not doing that anymore. So I went into the system and changed the display. If anybody goes into our in-out board and looks, and now says 7:30 to 3:30 for me, Monday through Friday. And so I got up this morning. I actually woke up. It did exactly what I wanted it to do. Now, one day is not exactly a good time slice for statistical analysis, but I stayed up late to hang out with people on Mumble, then went to bed around 12:30, and had my alarm set for 7:30. I was going to get up, jump on, and clock in, and I woke up around 7:15, and I just got up, clocked in, and felt way better than what I've been doing most mornings when it's work time. So if that pattern continues after tomorrow, because tomorrow it's not going to happen because I'm staying up late for Star Trek tonight. So I will probably get up late and clock in late tomorrow. But after that, I think the rest of the week, I think it should fall in pretty well. But that's what I've been doing.
Dude, I love not commuting. I love not commuting to work. I've gotten that part down. I've gotten that part down famously. Like, put my dishes in the sink, round the corner to my office, sit down, log in. It's great. All right, Jer, how about you?
Pretty good. For us, the summer is always our busy season at work. And so with things opening up finally and a lot of places getting back to having more people in them, we are starting to get into our very, very busy season. And so I'm excited to see things take off. And it's work has become busy again, which is always good because it makes the day go by. And things are starting to get back to somewhat normalcy. So I'm looking forward to it. Things haven't, for me, things haven't changed as much. So it's nice to see that I see the world is starting to get a little bit more normal from a business sense. The rest of it, we're not going to talk about, but yeah.
Yeah.
So how about you, Phil?
I'm gonna name a thing that we all did.
Yep.
We this past Sunday we all met outside face to face for the first time since March. So it was the three of us, our buddy Glenn and Chris and Jen, and we all met out at a park near Glenn's place, and brought some lunches and sat in each other's company, socially distanced apart and wearing masks when we weren't eating. And it was lovely. It was both incredibly familiar and not at the same time. Yeah. Like on for three different levels. Like, one, I've known you guys forever, so spending time with you just seems like normal, right? Like, just like hanging out with you guys is always just normal. But so that's like one level. So it was like normal on one level, but weird on another because we haven't seen each other since March. But also, I talked to you guys besides the recording. I play games with each of you during the week, and on the Mumble server, I talk to you guys almost every night. So sitting and talking to you was like completely normal because it was just like, well, it's Bob, Jerry, Chris, we're always talking to each other. But at the same time, it was like, no, you guys are here. Like, we're in a shared space, although we're all talking to each other with masks on.
Yeah.
Like,
and 10 feet between us.
Yes, and like 10 feet between us.
We were socially responsible.
Yep.
So,
We were. I think in terms of exposure, we did everything correctly. We were all wearing masks. We were outdoors with great airflow, and we were all distanced apart. So, like, I in terms of risk, it was a very low risk way to spend time together, except for the fact that there was only one tiny tree, which Bob had, and the rest of us got sunburned. It was a small price to pay. But I'm a bit pink, actually. My arms and legs. I'm half Italian and half Scottish, and so at the beginning of every summer, the half Scottish part of me needs to burn for the half Italian part of me to tan.
Yeah,
like I'll be fine going from this point forward, but this is always what happens. Like I went out into the direct sunlight and turned red.
Yeah, I actually got a little pink on my knees, but other than that.
I'm half German and half Italian. The same thing happens to me. And I got on my arms, I got red, and then on my legs, because I sat on my legs from the bottom of my shorts just over my knee, bright red, burned to the point where you could, if you closed your eyes, you could feel on my skin where the skin was raised from the burn. And but that's okay. It was,
I took a shower this morning. I took a shower this morning. Was like, ow, like turn it down, like uncomfortable.
And when you tally that all up, worth it.
Totally worth it. Totally worth it. Would go get sunscreen before I do it again. Yeah. Like I have sunscreen in this house. I should have just grabbed some, sprayed myself down real quick and headed out the door. So we'll do it again.
I was lucky. My wife insisted that I wear she got me a really nice wide brim hat for our honeymoon. And so she made sure I took that with me. So I didn't get sunburned anywhere on my face, which is, good.
So it was really nice. It was nice to see you guys. And I went and got Popeyes for the first time since March. Which actually was fine. I made my saving throw, so no ill repercussions for... Sometimes when I fail that saving throw, there is a lot of regret for it. But nope, I was fine. Cool. All right, let's move on to announcements. I got one announcement, which is just a reminder. The Misdirected Mark Star Trek The Next Generation Watch Club is in effect. We are viewing 61 curated episodes. One, because I added one this week, an extra one this week. We're watching 61 curated episodes that cover all 7 seasons of Star Trek The Next Generation. We have some people in the group who have never seen any of these episodes before. And we have others like me who've seen them like maybe more times than I can count. We have discussion boards going on the forums. So you do not have to be a patron to participate in this. You can just log into the forums, go down to like the 3rd section with all the miscellaneous stuff. You'll find the topic in there. And what I've been doing is each week I post a watch list of episodes to watch. Tuesday nights, not right after the show, but 11:30 Eastern after the show, we do a watch party, typically 2 episodes. So a little bit on the night owl side, but if you're Central, Mountain, or West, we're giving you guys a break instead of just being so East Coast centric as we have been for other things in the past. You just join the watch party by picking up the link in the forums or in the Slack room. I'm going to put it in both. And we started this June 2nd. So last week, we completed our curated episodes from season 1. And this week, we are starting with season 2, which I will say, having gone back and watched the episodes again for like the first time in a while, the difference between season 1 and season 2 is marketably different. Like it is very distinct, the difference between these 2 seasons. I'm very excited because season 2 really is where the show really starts to take form. So we're doing that. And then again, you can, if you don't want to go to the watch parties, you can just grab the list, watch the episodes, and participate in the discussion boards. So if you're down for that, we would love to have you. So we'll be doing that. We'll be doing, like I said, watch party tonight, and we'll be chatting about season 2 episodes all week. Good.
Yay.
Yay. All righty.
So I have a quick question. Looking at this, it says 6/9 at 11:30, and then 6/10. There's one tomorrow, or the
no. It's like at 12:30 in the morning, like it's like 12:15 or whatever. We're watching 2 tonight. We're watching one of them at 11:30. It'll be 12:15 by the time we start the next one.
So if you go into the forum, it's 6/9 at 11:30 and 6/9 at 12:15. There's not a watch party tomorrow. So,
but
just letting people know in the forums.
But it can't be 6/9 at 12:15 in the morning. That was this morning.
Ah, okay, I get it. All right.
It's technically 6:10 at 12:15.
Yeah. Or 6/9 at what is it, 10:15?
Or you could just say we're doing back-to-back episodes starting at 11:30 tonight.
Which makes more sense.
Yes, that's exactly the point. Just
that's how
be there at 11:30. Watch. We're watching. Let's see. We're gonna watch episode. Was it season 2, episode 1? The Child. And then we're going to watch, I think it's episode 3 or 4, Elementary, My Dear Data.
Oh my God, that's like that early?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that early.
Oh yeah. That's what I'm telling you. Like
the
difference between season 1 and 2 is very pronounced. Like it goes from being like, wow, I'm pretty sure they got picked up for a second season to like something happened. I'm going to go do some research, but like something happened and like more money showed up, better writers showed up. Like
the writer's room figured it out, apparently.
Yes.
They're like, all right, now we know what we're doing, so let's amp this up.
Yeah, exactly. And more importantly, if you, The Beard starts tonight.
Oh, dear.
Yes.
So join us if you can.
Yes.
Make it so.
We've talked about enough. Yeah, make it so. All right, cool. Ready to roll on to the feature segment?
Let's do it.
All righty.
There's a thing. I was going to do the thing. There we go. There was a thing.
I was about to do like insert sound effect.
Yeah. I grabbed the wrong mouse because I'm working on 2 different layers here. I
like it. Okay. Welcome back to the Salon. This is our 4th episode of the Salon. I'll just give a quick, brief introduction since we've done it now a little bit. The Salon is a little bit of a relaxed format for us. It gets away from our scripted format, which is a thing that I wind up having to do a lot of work for each week to kind of script up a whole show. And so to kind of take it easy, a little self-care for myself during these times. We do the Salon, where we talk about things that we're playing, things of media that we're consuming, and some other things going on in our lives. And we tie them back to gaming because this is a podcast about gaming. So whatever we wind up talking about, we'll pull that back into a series of gaming discussions for the evening, and joined by our wonderful chat room for life. And so why don't we get it started of talking about the things that we're playing, and I'll just kick us off really quick. This past week, I got to play Call of Cthulhu again in Chris's Western Call of Cthulhu adventure, which is excellent. And I ran my first session of Icons, which I was a little trepidatious about running. And by the time we got to the end of the game, I was actually very thrilled that I didn't buckle.
Yeah.
And I didn't buckle or wave off on...
Your fears were unfounded.
Yeah. It was... It was much better than I thought it was going to be. Not that I didn't think we would do a good job with it. I didn't have I didn't think I had my footing for the game, but I actually, by the time we started playing, grokked at the game far better than I thought. We'll probably talk about that in a little bit. And then for video games, I've continued my Mario Kart tour. I'm getting my ass handed to me in this particular cup. I'm definitely going to get pushed down a few levels because I did not place very well this go around. But I'm still enjoying it. It's still kind of a fun little diversion. It's a little app game thingy. And I've been playing my personal instance of Minecraft. Actually playing a season 3 Minecraft pack of ours. And I actually having a lot of fun with that one. I forgot how much I really liked that Ender.io mod. Like a lot.
Ender.io's got a lot of good stuff in it.
Yeah, I'm good. So I've been playing that. Let me just pause before I kick it over to Bob and just tell Jason, who's in our chat room. Jason says he can't wait for yesterday's Enterprise. Surprise, surprise! That's next week's watch party.
Ah,
See, yesterday's Enterprise is a season 3, and it is probably in my top 5 favorite Star Trek episodes.
it's so good.
We will be doing the watch party for yesterday's Enterprise.
That's a good one. Yay!
Alrighty, Bobo.
So excited.
What you been playing?
So I only had one RPG since the last time we played. It was the short week, where I don't have a lot of games. Normally we would have had our Friday night Streets of Avalon game, but Jared Rasher was kind of feeling it with everything that's been going on. And so we decided that we were going to take the week off of that, give him a break from running it. And so we said, okay, and we put that on the back burner for a while. So I only had the Icons game Sunday night. My Minecraft play has been pretty much non-existent now for like the last week and a half. I've pretty much gotten to the point where I'm kind of done with everything that I wanted to do on the current pack. Mentally starting to plan and Jones for season 5. And every once in a while, Jerry's like, "Oh, hey, I did this thing," and I'll jump onto the server and I'll go and take a look. I am going to jump on though because Jerry needs a rescue because he ended up dead. Somebody needs to help him go get his corpse and all his loot. So I'll be jumping on to help out with that. But I'm pretty much just only jumping in every once in a while to look at something new if somebody's like, "Hey, look at this cool thing."
Yeah, I'm definitely. I mean, I'm done with the current mod pack because I jumped over to a instance from a previous season. I need to, and it's on my list of things to do this week, is to get with Schmitty and help organize finalizing season 5.
Yeah.
I think we're fairly close to what's going to go in there, and then once we have the list, Schmitty can craft the pack, and then we'll take like a week or so of testing.
Yep. Bang on
to
it a little bit.
Beat on it a little bit, practice, that kind of thing.
Other than that, just still playing Mahjong to keep the brain sharp and distract me from other things and stay sane. So that's my gaming. What about you, Jerry?
Well, last week we did, we had our talk through the game, which was excellent. I liked it a lot. I really like I like Call of Cthulhu because it's, after playing so many games like Dungeons and Dragons and Savage Worlds and that, being in a game where a single supernatural creature is goddamn terrifying is a lot of fun. It really brings you back to that feeling. And for all of its other faults, Call of Cthulhu, the game system works well for what they want to do with it, which is a lot of fun. Friday, we did our first session of Aegon, which is the Greek mythology game, with GM Jen Adcock. And then on Sunday, I ran my Savage Eberron, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And last night for the FM Gamers, we played a session of Doc Palindrome's Masked, and he's running a pastiche of the Legion of Superheroes. And that was just a lot of fun. It's been a long time since I've played Masks. I forgot how much fun it is. I forgot how well it really handles like superpowers, that they're so loosely defined that you decide kind of what your character wants to do, and you and the GM work together. So it ends up feeling more like a comic book and less mechanic. And I really like that a lot.
I love Masks. Bob,
It's a lot of fun.
Bob, Glenn, Tony, and I played a campaign, and I absolutely love it. The only thing I do with Masks that I borrowed from the other PBTA superheroes game, and I can never remember it because we didn't wound up not playing it. Chris ran it, I think. Is I always ask the question, name a thing you can always do with your power, name a thing you can sometimes do with your power, and name a thing that you can never do with your power.
Yeah.
Only because it creates the boundaries for when you are what's the move? What is it?
Unleash your power.
Unleash your power.
Powers.
Yeah. Because sometimes if it's like, it's a thing you can always do, then either you can just do it, or it's like, well, you're really just engaging a direct threat or whatever.
Yeah.
And if it's the sometimes, then we're talking more about unleash your powers.
Especially since they're so like my character's powers are cosmic energy control, and magic and magic.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So
that's an interesting combo.
So yeah. Well, my mother is my character's mother was basically dark side plus Dormammu, so you know.
That's weird.
But not that she showed up at all or anything. But that was a lot of fun. And then we're still playing Marvel Strike Force with Knights of the Night. And it's fun with all the new players coming on, watching that, because we're using the chat function. You can follow the chat of just your group, your team. And it's fun to watch the rapid progression of people, because Marvel Strike Force does a really good job of front-loading you pretty quickly. You get rewards like every 20 minutes when you first start playing that game.
Oh, I remember.
And because of the way we're doing it because the more experienced and more advanced players, especially the four of us that are kind of the moderators, are deliberately setting up sessions so that while we're not advancing as fast, we're getting a lot of high-end rewards because we're playing mid-level stuff. They're getting stuff they're getting characters that it took me like a year to get. They're getting them like a week into the game. They're not super powerful, but they get a chance to build some really fun superpowered teams. And because there's so many of us that have played it so much, we're also being able to tell them, good, you've got that character that really fills this niche in its move, or that character is really good at low levels. At higher levels, you probably won't have as much fun with them, so you might want to relegate them when you get to like level 30 to a different team. Don't make them the anchor of your group, and so on. But so it's been a lot of fun. But it's fun to watch and see that hook and see how people are getting into it. The first week when we were just getting slaughtered in the competitive mode, you can see people getting kind of I don't know how this is going, because they're now seeing the rewards come. That the fact that we're not a super powerful group isn't bothering them anymore. They're now just having fun playing the game. It's what they should be doing. And from a gaming standpoint, that's really good because it shows that you kind of give them stuff out the door, and then they can face the challenges later on. It's that DCC thing that Bob mentioned 2 weeks ago, where the nice thing about DCC is you get all your stuff up front, you're just not good at it.
Yep.
And so it's a good template for how to get new players into a game, is give them all the cool stuff up front. They don't do very good with it, but they see the potential of what they can do. And then Minecraft, I've just been kind of tidying up the Megapolis and leveling some hills and stuff. And then I decided to go out and recruit some more people. And I thought I logged out, and apparently I did not. And I came back into the room and I was dead.
Oh, that's awful.
In Minecraft, you have to back out 3 times. I only backed out 2 of the 3 times, so I was still in that little screen in the corner. And I came back. So I am about 6,000 blocks from home, inside a new building, by the way, we've never seen before.
Oh, cool.
So
I hope you left a transporter.
No.
No.
but it's mostly water. So old man Aquaman can come get me real quick. So
yeah,
there you go. So Bob, I just got to mention this really quick before we get into our in-depth discussion on games. But as I was listening to Jerry talk about masks, it made me think that there, I think, would be a very interesting hack to change out the playbooks in masks and play Amber as like the young Amberites with the influence system of like the elders with who has influence over you and who doesn't. And
why did you say that?
Right? And just do the playbooks with like the different powers. Like you have pattern, you have trump, you have magic, right? And then, just not even change the moves. Just literally change the playbook moves, the playbook names, and nothing else. And I totally think you could play young Amberites in Amber.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Computer, open project file.
Yes. No, keep it on the Stark server. Keep it on my personal server.
I don't know who to trust.
Yeah, I just, as Jerry was talking about it, I
You
was
bastard. That's going to friggin' bounce around my head now.
I know it, right? Like that is not a bad idea.
No, it is not.
I mean, can you imagine, like, you know, you're the son of Fiona. She has influence over you, and she's like telling you to do stuff.
Oh man. Okay. Next.
All right. Anyway,
Otherwise, we're going to tangent for an hour.
I had to say it out loud. Because it's like, it was one of those things that got in my head, and I was like, I'm listening to Jerry talk, and I'm like, Amber, say it. So, all right. As we like to do, now to kind of get into a little more in-depth gaming discussion, we're each going to pick a game. We're each going to pick a game from the list of games that we've played, and whether it was the ones we listed or from last week, whatever.
Yeah.
But we're going to just talk a little bit about it and talk about the gaming aspect that's related to it. So, Jerry, which game do you want to talk about?
I'm going to talk about Savage Eberron.
Cool.
Because in Savage Eberron, we had a player drop out temporarily. We had a new player, Schmitty. Hey, Schmitty.
Yay, Schmitty.
And it worked very, very well. It actually made the game not only better because Schmitty was there, but they were about to start what was basically going to be a pretty long combat slog. They had finally come to the secret of what was going on, and were about to fight the big bad and his flunkies. They had to talk their way in, but adding Schmitty made us do a rewind because we did, well, how do you know them? And so we rewound the whole storyline back about 2 hours so the players could all interact and talk and have a really nice role-playing group session. And then we picked it back up and okay, and now you're back at the door, except that Schmitty's character's there now. And, you know, and we just walked it from there. So that did a good job of changing the pacing a little bit. And it added some role-playing opportunities. It also was interesting because something that I don't like as a GM or a player are games where there are abilities that just nerf a player entirely. And in this case, the villains they were fighting were cultists, and they had what would have been the equivalent of mind control and dispel, which would take over a character and also kind of nerf some of the player's abilities really quickly. And so I did some kind of light modification on it so that the players who were having difficulties, like one of them put up a big group spell and that got knocked down after a turn. But it didn't just nerf them entirely. So I think it's important when you're going to do a character who has an ability that can nerf somebody else's, one of their primary abilities, you make sure that the other things that character can do are still going to be effective. I've seen a lot of GMs talk about stuff like, oh, you know, I love having an adventure where there's no magic and watch the wizard struggle. It's like, no, that's not fun for anybody.
Yeah, it's not fun. That's, you and I have the same dislike of the superhero trope of like, and you lose your powers.
Exactly.
Like, it's not what I'm here for.
Yeah. And so one of the things they were dealing, well, I'm going to jump to the third one and come back. The third thing is this was Lines and Veils. Before I started this entire storyline, I did talk about everybody. So this adventure is going to deal with the death of children, and there's going to be some body horror and some other stuff. So before we start the game, this is where we're going to be. Because that's something I want everybody to understand. We weren't going to have like kids dying on screen, but the whole plot was a cultist who was using magic to convince the children of the nobles to commit suicide.
So you did a check. So you did a check in with everyone. So I assume that you like refreshed it because Schmitty was there.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it before. I talked about it with Schmitty before he joined the group. So
oh, good.
Ahead of time. But because of this, we had a gibbering mouther, and one of the things that they do is they have a lot of confusion, mind control stuff. And so I had a rule in there that even if you blew your roll 3 turns in a row, at the end of 3 turns, you were immune to the effect. So that you weren't suffering from the effect. Because that happens. A couple of the characters made it right off the bat. A couple suffered for a turn and got it, and then one player kept suffering from it every turn. I set a 3-turn limit on it. After 3 turns, it no longer affects you. You no longer have that penalty. Because you don't want somebody because you could end up with, because of your penalties, you're accumulating other penalties, and then it's just no fun. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think those things are, I think those things are key to making an enjoyable session for everyone. So I like a number of things that you talked about, right? So like one, I think that just getting rid of mind control and dispel and stuff like that isn't always the solution, right? So but I like how you did like the dispel, like you left the effect up for a turn so the player got like a cool thing, but then it gets taken down. So it's like, yeah, you got your cool thing, but you don't get like this thing up and it like totally dominates the scene, right? It gives you like, and honestly, it urges you to go get rid of the person who can dispel stuff if you do want to keep it up. And unlike, so you were playing Savage Ebron, so unlike D&D, you're not using a Vancian system. So recasting things is actually possible if you have enough points. So seeing somebody who dispelled something and getting somebody to take them out in time for you to recast it is actually a usable tactic. And then I'm with you on the mind control thing, right? Like I dislike mind control for all the same reasons, right? It revokes player agency.
Yeah.
Players have a shitty time with it. And if a GM's having way too much fun with it, there's probably a larger discussion to be had. I like how you capped it with the time limit. And then the one I'll bring up is that there was a really good example of it in the DCC adventure we played, the one who watches from below, where they had a modified mind control where the player picked whether they wanted to either use their action die, so i.e., attack, make a skill check, cast a spell or whatever, or move. And whichever one you didn't pick, the game master got to pick for like the creature that was mind controlling. You got to pick that one.
That was a DCC rule?
That's not even a DCC rule. That's just the rule
module
they put in the adventure.
Because I thought you did that. I thought you just house ruled that because you hate the mind control.
No, the author of the adventure was like,
that's awesome.
Mind control blows.
Good.
So here's my take on mind control.
I like that.
You get one or the other, and it makes it it's actually really interesting because it's a fun way to mess around. Like, I'm going to take the movement. Cool. I'm going to attack the person next to you. Or I'm going to, I'm going to use my movement and run away from everyone. You know, and then it's like, okay, well, I guess I swing at nothing or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little yo-yo mechanic. But yeah, I agree. Like I have never enjoyed, I've never enjoyed as a player. I've never enjoyed those spells where it's like, well, you as a player are sidelined. Your character's now doing something that you don't want them to do.
Yeah.
Which also, because it revokes agency, it also becomes a trust thing, right? Like, so a mature GM can take that spell and use it to create tension. A immature game master can actually do harm. Right? Like, they could do harm to player situations. From the simplest thing of just like using your character to kill somebody else, which is awful, right? To way worse things, right? So it's just in general, it's just kind of a blah. Like, I don't know. I'm with Jerry, right? Like, I think like putting the cap on it was good. Or, the hybrid thing that the DCC adventure stuck on it, I think is a good compromise. I'm with you. Like, the less of those abilities in the game, the better I think it is. Dispel, I'm less committed to. Like, mind control, charm, and shit like that, I really don't like. Dispel's just, dispels the wah-wah. Like, oh, you cast that cool spell? I dispel it. Wah-wah.
Yeah.
Like, once or twice, that's fine. After that, it's,
you have to do it right. It's like anything else. You got to use it right. And you also have to get good players. Like, the mind control thing worked also well because I had good players. And, Chris was one of them. Chris got hit with the Jabri Mounder attack. And as soon as he got hit with it, not only did he take his penalty, but he actively had his character stop acting tactical and just do things that were very emotion related because that's what was going on. It was, oh, this is how I'm supposed to act. He didn't act crazily, but his character is basically the master tactician, and instead just kind of charged kind of mindlessly at the bad guy and played along with that. When you've got good players, that trust goes both ways. You don't have to take over somebody's character if you can just tell them, okay, this is the effect, and let them role play with it and let them turn it back into a chance for them to do something cool, even if it's not something mechanically cool. Yeah.
I'm just thinking of our Call of Cthulhu game with Chris, the Snake Man that we fought threw a smoke bomb at us, and Chris was like, "Well, what do you guys do?" And like, I know it's a smoke bomb, right? And it's it's a Snake Man who's throwing it, so probably bad, right? But I'm like, wait. My character has no frame of reference on what this is. Like, there's no grenades in the Wild West. It isn't a stick of dynamite. He's like, he just throws this green metal ball in your direction, and I'm like, I'm just gonna shoot him. Like, I don't think I dodge a small metal ball being rolled in my direction. What do I know? So I got paralyzed. Right, which is also a agency revoking moment. But Chris was good. Like, I got paralyzed, and it didn't last forever. But it was one of those things where, as a player, I could have easily been like, "Oh, I dodge out of the way," right? Yep. But as a player, as my character, like, I took that extra moment and was like, "No. Castle wouldn't dodge out of the way of this. I don't think he even understands what just happened. Like, why would this guy roll this ball at him while I'm, trying to blast it with my Winchester?"
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, interesting. Yeah, good.
All right, Phil.
Yeah.
Take over.
Sure. I'm going to talk about my Forbidden Lands game from last Sunday. And my topic that I'm going to talk about is the difference between GM urgency and player urgency. And not Jerry's urgency, but GM is in Game Master. So I'm all set to kick off our new campaign arc for the Raven's Purge, and everybody knows that this is the adventure that's going to open up this plot. So we're going through it, and I'm doing I did, as a precursor to this, I did a bunch of personal scenes. Where I just had some really good one-on-one role-playing time with each of the characters and did some stuff. And Bob had this really good scene with this NPC. And again, because in case people are playing Forbidden Lands, I don't want to give anything away, but there was this moment that we had set up for a while about the identity of this particular NPC finally comes out, and really good scene.
It was a fun
scene. I wasn't sure which way it was going to go, and you played it really cool, and it worked out good. So my goal was, towards the end of the session, this bard shows up, who the players have met before, and the bard comes bearing information that is the key to where to go to kick, the first adventure site for the campaign arc. And my expectation is the bard's going to show up, I'm going to dispense this information, and then we're off and running next session with the Raven's Purge. So I dispense all the information. I have a tremendously fun time playing the bard. I think we had a really good, really fun role-playing scene with the bard, who is not completely well-liked by many of the
Something
party
shippy
members.
about that bard.
Right. Except Jim loves him because the bard constantly compliments Jim. So we get to the end, and I'm like, all right, cool. What are you guys doing? And they're like, yeah, we'll wait till spring to go to the adventure site. We're going to go do this side quest first. And so I'm like, really? Okay. It just, I guess what stunned me about it was, my perception was oh, this really powerful magical artifact is in this, veil, and the bard's telling you about where it's located, et cetera, et cetera. And then you guys are like, yeah, but winter's coming, and traveling that far from home in the winter could be dangerous. Yeah. And if it's been lost forever,
nobody's going to miss it for another 3 months.
Right. We'll just wait till spring, and then we'll get underway to go. And they're like, but in the meantime, this other storyline's like way cooler. And I was like, okay. I'm like, I mean, it's fine. The game's a very sandboxy game. So I'm like, all right, well, we're going to go visit the dwarves next session. And, but it just caught me off guard because it's that difference in perception, right? Because like I wrote it to be like, I'm going to tell you where this magic artifact is, right? Like, Frodo, here's the ring, right? Like, it wasn't like Frodo got the ring and was like, I could leave. I could leave for Rivendell now, but the leaves are turning. Maybe I should just wait.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
or, it's harvest season. I really got to finish pulling this crop in first before I go on this legendary quest.
Right. So in my mind, like when I set up the adventure, I was like, I'm going to drop this clue. I'm going to tell you where this thing is, and we're going to be off and running. And the players were like, that is very interesting. Good information to know. We'll get back to you.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I, like a younger, more inexperienced me would be like, no, like push, like steer them onto the tracks, right? Like, no, you misunderstand, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, like, whatever. We'll get to it in spring. Like, it's fine. We're going to go do this other story. I had to come up with what that other story was, like the rest of that other story. But like, I worked out the details of that Monday night. And I'll start writing it tomorrow. But it was, it's interesting because it goes to show you that no matter how careful you are when you prep stuff as a GM, the way you see it in your head as the GM is not always the way your players see it. And sometimes, like this case, it wasn't a big deal. It just surprised me. Other times when it's like a mystery, like it can be really frustrating.
Sure.
Because you've you think you've delivered the clue or the right motivation, and the players are like, not buying it. Like clearly the fishmonger's at work here, and you're like, the what? Like,
it also speaks to the makeup of the party from the perspective that we are not your typical murder hobo group.
No.
Right. Where the standard, treasure hungry murder hobos would be like, oh yeah, epic artifact, we're on the way, kill stuff, loot, take their shit, and we're like, that is a long way off. It's through a ton of forest, which is difficult terrain to manage.
Yes.
And then into the mountains, and it's winter, and we've only got 1/4 of the day that's light, and it's just like
it'll
spring.
make for a long trip. Yeah.
Spring would be way better for this epic quest.
So yeah, we're gonna go side questing for a little while, and I'm totally okay with that. But it was funny. Like it was a moment where I was like, okay, so then we're gonna do this instead. Cool. All right, Bob, tell us a little bit about icons.
Yeah, so one of the things that stood out to me for this session of icons, we did a really, really nice job of just kind of leaning into all the tropes. All right? And the system is kind of designed that way to a certain degree anyway. I mean, it's a supers game. So, I mean, when you make a supers game, you tend to be all tropey to begin with. But there were moments in there, and this dovetails into the whole, leave gaps in your backstory kind of a thing too, where we would, Phil would ask us, okay, well, what do you know about this? Or who's this person that you fought once before? And we make stuff up on the fly. But we did a really nice job of kind of leaning into the superhero-y tropes when the shit hit the fan, and it's like, oh no, there's a problem on campus. We need to all get to campus quickly and see what the threat is. And so we're all trying to figure out how we're going to get there. And Tony's like fiddling with his newfound magical power. He's got an artifact that does science/magic. And he's like, can I teleport? It's like, well, hell yeah, you can teleport. You got a device that'll let you do magic, whatever you want.
Yeah.
And we just kind of rode that. And he was like, let's do this. Boom. And we did that like 2 or 3 times during the course of the fight. We did some stuff in the fight. We were fighting against a robot that was stretchy. It like elongated its legs and its torso and its arms, and it got really tall and lanky and was strutting around campus shooting stuff. And we started whacking on it, and every time we tried to take advantage of the thing being like tall and wobbly, it would shrink down a little bit. But we kept, like, oh, let's try and like, lift it into the air and let it fall, and let's, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun just kind of letting some of that stuff happen and letting it ride.
The icons mechanics are a lot more flexible. Well, I shouldn't say a lot more flexible than I thought. The icons mechanics are very flexible, and just being like very much in the style of playing that we like, which is tell me what you want to do. Yeah. Okay, I think you need to make this roll. Yeah. Worked out really good. Superhero games in general tend to go really well for Tony. Yeah. Tony's a very imaginative player, and concrete games are sometimes hard for him because the world is too concrete, but like he almost always has the same type of character when we play Supers games. Which is fine because he does a really good job of playing them. And as I, noticed, because the Icon's DNA is so much fate, Tony's going to do great, because if he's just going to make qualities, aka aspects, in a support role, like in a fate game, those are tremendously useful, and in this game, they're tremendously useful. So that's I think gonna work out. I think it's gonna work out really well. The other thing for tropes that I know, like I did for the game, was I tried to use a lot of comic book terminology when I was setting up scenes. Like I talked about, like, okay, when we, when we open this issue, right? Like, and in this panel, this is what we see. Tell me what's going on, kind of thing. Like, okay, now we're gonna flip the page. And the book does it too. The book actually uses panel, page, issue, and things like that as their units of measure for the game. But I also leaned right into that because it helps. And I think superhero is a genre I really enjoy. I never really considered myself like a person who played like a ton of super games. Like I didn't really play too much Champions or V&V or anything when I was younger. I did play a lot of Marvel superheroes. And then I didn't really play supers for a while. Like I didn't play them mostly through the 90s, other than, my undying love and desire to play Underground. Which, by the way, as we talk about hacking things and we talk about icons, icons would be perfect for making a Underground hack. I could easily make it out of that game. Anyway, but as it turns out, the more I run Supers games, when we ran masks and things like that, the more I really enjoy running Supers. Like I think it is a genre that I can claim some skill with. Like I feel like I do a decent job of running things, and they make them feel like comic books. I'll default to Bob, since Bob's actually played in those. But yeah, I think really the trick to playing a good Supers game, and I think this is a thing that you guys did well, and I think it's a thing that Icons does well, is really to think outside the box with your powers. Like, it's easy to be like, I'm going to blast a thing, right? Like or I'm going to punch a thing. But like Tony was using like transmutation to put qualities on this. Like it was super tall. So he's like, I'm going to give it a lead head.
Yep.
Right. So it's like all wobbly and off balance. And then I'm going to give it glass knees. Right. So that it's like brittle and can't stand well. And those are the things where I think superhero games really shine is, sure, you got blast, but like, what else can you do? with this power. Like Glenn did that really cool move where he turned into a tidal wave and slammed the robot. Oh no, he did that one. The one I liked better was one of the qualities we had on the board was bystanders all around.
Yeah.
So this was the middle of the college campus. There were people all over the place running about. When he first arrived on scene, he used his water power to create a wave and actually clear everybody out of the quad.
Scooped up all the bystanders and just washed them over here. Boom.
Right. And mechanically, I was like, oh, cool. You're going to, you're making a power check to get rid of this quality that's on the board. Sure. Like, that's like, I know exactly how to do that in Fate. And I think that's really important because I think if you just lean too much on like, well, my power says blast, so I can only blast things. Like, you're not really working the superhero.
You got to think outside the box when you play a super game. Honestly, go back and read, unless you have someone, like the Thing, all right, who he's a brick, so he's going to punch stuff, right? So 9 times out of 10, when he goes into combat, he's going to punch stuff, okay? But if you go back and you read comic books, people aren't just, I'm going to stand here, I'm going to blast you. Like, people are always thinking of new things or different tactics. There's always something outside the box going on. Like, hey, Ben, go and punch the support beam for that building and bring the empty building down on top of the bad guy instead of just punching him, So, thinking outside the box is like the bread and butter of a Supers game.
And that loops back to... I was just going to say that loops right back to Jerry, because that's what Jerry was talking about early on with masks. Go ahead, Jerry.
I was going to say, the other game that does that really well, and it's still starting for mechanics, is the new Sentinels of the Multiverse. Because you always roll 3 sets of dice for your abilities. You have what your present health or structure or stamina level is. You have the power you're using, and then you have the skill or effect you want to use it for. So you can have somebody who's got like ice powers and has the skill of shooting, but might also have the skill of like chemistry. And decides instead of trying to blow the door open, they're going to try to use chemistry to freeze the door solid so that they can then short it out or something along that line. And so, at least with the playtest rules, because the official rules aren't out yet, all the free playtest downloads, the characters end up doing a lot of things outside the box because the game itself is written to kind of push players in that direction.
That's cool.
And I like that idea I really like a lot of games where, even Marvel had that with Power Stunts.
Yep.
Was the idea that you could try something else with it and, spend your karma and all that. And if you did it 10 times in a row with a certain number of successes, that stunt became something it was part of your power slot now. It really made people... That also encouraged you to do things outside the box because the more stuff you tried, the more stuff became part of your power sphere.
Yeah, and it was and that game was actually flexible enough with its 3 color with its 3 outcome red, yellow, green outcomes. It was entirely possible for a GM to be like, "Oh, cool, you want to like rescue the person falling off the building with an ice slide? Cool. Make your power check. You need a green or higher to save that person." And that was very doable. Like it was very much a thing for Marvel to just be able to say like, all right, well, cool. You're going to make your power check, but at -1 column shift, or I need you to make this power check and you need a yellow or better. And then you had karma to help with that, right? Yeah. So if you rolled and you didn't like your roll, you could just pour a little karma onto it and push your roll up. Yeah.
That game had a lot of what we now consider modern game design in it. Just buried in it. It's the origin of a lot of stuff that is common today. They just were trying to force it into a 1980s box.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What we need to do one day is we need to have a back-to-back superheroes day where we go out to Anja's place when we can go out to places again, and we play face rip Marvel superheroes, followed by Saga Marvel heroes, and just play both systems just to feel the difference between them.
Yep.
Because I love both of those systems quite a bit, and I still have all my Saga stuff neatly stashed away in one of my gaming bins.
Yeah,
cards and everything.
I don't think I've ever actually played Face Rip. I may have once. It's not a game that ever really got a lot of play back in the day with me. But Saga was a good time. I enjoyed it.
Jerry's ready. Jerry will run Face Rip.
I could run Face Rip tomorrow.
Yeah.
I still actually I haven't done it. I haven't done it in the last 12 months, but I actually dragged Face Rip out, and except for the 3-year period here in Buffalo when I didn't have a game group, I used to run Face Rip at least once a year just to kind of polish it off and kind of get people thinking outside the box for stuff. So we've done the Return of Omega Flight. We've done.
Oh man!
We've done the updated version of Day of the Octopus.
That's not a good adventure.
If you update it, it's a lot of fun.
Sure.
You can do all that kind of stuff with characters, and it's a game very much like Savage Worlds. Once you understand the base mechanic of that game, you can run it. I mean, I used it for a while to run Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers because it handles that really well.
Galaxy Rangers is essentially a superhero game.
It's superhero cowboys in space.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah,
all right.
I'll handle that. All right.
One more quick tangent before we move on, just because another thing that
Bob.
just came into my head. One thing I would like to see more of in games is where if you keep doing the thing over and over again, it becomes a thing on your character sheet, or you get better at it. Like if you keep using a skill over and over again, there'd be obviously some bookkeeping involved because you'd have to keep track. But like, say I use this skill that I'm not super good at, but
So I'm going to name 2 games.
Yeah.
One is Call of Cthulhu, which when you fail a skill check at the end of the game, you can roll to see if you improve.
Uh-huh.
And 2, because Avi is in the chat room, I'm going to mention Burning Wheel has a whole set of mechanics for you have to make a certain number of a certain types of skill checks, and then your skills get better.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is some bookkeeping involved, but it is along those same lines that your practice you actually have to use your skills to make your skills better.
Yeah.
I will go right back to what I said. That's exactly how Face Rip works.
Yeah.
With Face Rip, if you want to do something, real quick, in Marvel Face Rip, there are 4 results: a failure, a green result, yellow result, red result. The red results are harder to get. The better your stat, the easier to get them. If you want to get a new effect for your power, the first time you try to use it, to trigger it, you have to get a red result. You can spend your karma, which are your luck points, to get it. Once you get it the first time, you have to get 3 reds total, and then 3 yellows, and then 4 greens. Once you've done that, it's a power that you can just use as normal.
Yeah.
So the more you use that power, so it's tough to do it the first couple times.
Sure.
Then it gets easier. And as a result, you end up with players coming up with ways to use that stunt a lot. And that's exactly, and then all of a sudden, so you don't have to spend any more experience points or other resources to get it.
It gives you an alternate way to add something new or increase something you've already got without having to spend XP on it. And it's a different flavor to advancing your character. And I like how that works.
That's what I meant by stuff that was from the 80s that were like, yeah, that's the thing we should do today, but it was done back then.
Yeah.
Who did that? Was it Jeff Grubb came up with that game system?
Yeah, Jeff Grubb.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
We've hit more than the halfway point on this segment, so our second half of this will be a little leaner. But let's take a quick break, check in with Chat Room for Life, because I at least saw one question floating by, although I think the chat room answered it as well. But Bob, tell us about another show on the Misdirected Mark Network.
Yes, Down with D&D. The Mad Wizard Sean Merwin dishes about everything D&D with a focus on the brand and the newest edition of the world's most popular tabletop RPG. He's had a bunch of really cool guests on in recent shows with some really cool topics. I highly suggest that you check them out. Good stuff.
There we go.
All
Cool.
right.
Chat
So
room?
yeah, we had a question from Avi. They have a friend that wants to run a Shadowrun game who's asking if there's a system that is a bit lighter than Shadowrun, but
All of
still
them.
has a bit of crunchiness.
So literally every game. I saw some of the comments, right?
Yeah.
Jerry mentioned Savage Worlds. I think that's an excellent one. If you like that, Fate would have been my choice. I've done a Fate Cyberpunk game before. I had a lot of fun doing Fate as Fate in a Cyberpunk setting.
Yep.
And if you want to do runs and jobs and stuff, if you pull the John Rogers heist rules from the world of Fate, and just cyber it up a little,
Yeah.
that also totally works. And I saw Jerry also mentioned the Sprawl.
Yep.
With the add-on that I can't think of the name of, but that will also work. The Sprawl, I think, is one of the best emulations of runs. Like it does a thing. It's a game about taking jobs and doing jobs.
Yeah.
It does it exceedingly well.
It's PBTA.
It's PBTA. It's got a similar kind of mechanic to Blades in that the job is, it's very easy to abstract the job, and it's very easy to kind of play it on the fly. It avoids the gruesome planning paradox.
Yeah. Sit and plan for 6 hours before you
get into 6 needless fights with each other over the planning, and then just Leroy Jenkins the whole thing anyway.
Yep.
So I think it does an exceptionally good job of emulating the jobs genre of Cyberpunk. Yeah. I like this. But yeah, Fate would have been my other one, because if you can do it in Savage Worlds, you can also do it in Fate.
Yeah.
It's just which one are you comfortable with? And I find Fate to be crunchy enough. Fate is my it feels like an indie game, but plays like a traditional game. Like it is very much both of those at the same time.
It's chocolate and peanut butter bashed together.
Yeah. It's got a lot of things.
It's like peanut butter and jelly on a sandwich with bread on either side of it.
That there is funny.
That's funny right there.
Because Bob doesn't like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
All right. Well, I think that's good for the chat room for the moment.
You think it is, so. but if there's the thing that Bob likes less than peanut butter and jelly, I suspect it's peanut butter and banana.
Oh,
that's delicious.
Bananas, pickles, coconut. Just leave them out. Leave them out. Don't eat them.
Peanut butter and banana, also good. You've got some supporters. You got some supporters in the chat room with you, Bob. Fluffernutter banana. I never did Fluffernutter banana. Fluffernutter peanut butter. I mean, or are you saying you saying peanut butter, fluff, and banana?
Yeah, Fluffernutter. Fluff is just fluff. Fluffernutter is peanut fluff and some sort of peanut butter.
Yeah.
And Fluffernutter banana, you just put a banana in there because you put a banana in there because the healthiness of the banana offsets the pure diabetes of the fluff.
Diabetes. Say it right, Jerry. Diabetes.
I got fluff like 2 years ago on a whim. Like nobody was home, and I bought fluff and made a fluff sandwich, and I ate it, and I was like, holy Lord, how did I eat these as a kid? And then I was like, wait, look at me. Of course I ate them as a kid. Good.
All right.
Great googly moogly.
Great googly moogly.
Wait, real quick. The Crafty VM, are you talking about that song?
Don't start, Jerry. Don't start.
I don't like that song either. No, Bob, I don't like that song either.
All right. Solidarity, brother.
I don't understand.
Wow. Let's just say that Cotton Eye Joe is a song that makes Bob very angry.
I can understand why.
Not a fan.
My genes recessing.
I gotta listen to 12 Rage Against the Machine songs just to get that out of me.
Yeah.
All right. So back to the salon. We've sat and talked about games for a little while in a much tighter, as my hint to you all, in a much tighter section now. Let's talk about some things that we've either watched or read, and just kind of talk about media and also tie it back to gaming as well. So, Jerry, you going to tell us about Stargirl?
Yep. Yeah, I've got my notes already pre-written.
Yeah, look at you.
Okay, Stargirl. It's got good beat structure. It is. You guys know about how I feel about wasted time. I don't have a lot of time to watch shows, so don't waste my time with filler.
Give me the beat, boys.
This thing didn't do it. It's got beat structure down. The episode 1 starts out with a superhero battle between Starman and Striper and Hourman and Wildcat Flash and Sandman and Spectre versus Brainwave and Sportsmaster and Magician and Icicle and Solomon Grundy and a couple of people I couldn't identify. As the opening is a superhero knockdown battle.
Yep.
And shit gets done. And then they set up the stakes in a big way. They introduce you to the main characters, and then they switch beats and get you into introduction of characters. And then they have another little skirmish, and then they have another beat struck. Then they have another character development section, and then they end the episode with some big bad stuff happening. And another big reveal in a big way. It's got decent special effects. I would say the special effects in this are better than the special effects in Batman vs. Superman or Justice League. They look less goofy. It looks less like a video game. It looks more like TV special effects. The characters are likable. It's very much a CW. I mean, this is basically, I don't know any of it. This is basically a CW teen drama with a bunch of supervillains in it. But like, people die in this show right off the bat.
Yeah.
There's stuff going on. The characters are nice. Superheroes and villains do a beat structure. Upbeat, downbeat, upbeat, downbeat, upbeat, downbeat. They keep the story going, and there's some good stuff in it. It's a little predictable, but it's a superhero show, so that's okay.
It's entertaining.
But it's fun. It's entertaining. And they don't shy away from, these are characters with superpowers. We're going to show them using their superpowers. There are some surprising things. The whole Stripey thing, I was surprised with how quickly and how all over the screen it was. I thought they were going to kind of hide that in the backdrop for the first season, and nope. So, anyway.
Here it is.
Right now you can watch it free on CBS All Access. It's a free, I think they're going to keep the last 5 episodes up, so they're only on episode
on CBS?
So it's, whatever it is that I'm on. I think I'm watching.
CW, right?
CW.
The CW website has all of them pretty much for free for 5 episodes.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
They're only up to episode 3 right now, so, but, like I said, if you like superheroes, if you like shows that move fast, if you want to see good guys and bad guys beating the crap out of each other, and then have a good heartfelt family story tied into it, watch Stargirl and learn from it.
Yeah.
Listen, I agree. Like when you when you find something that's structured really well, what you can get out of it in terms of understanding story beats and things like that is immense. Like I remember having a long talk with Chris one day about how perfectly constructed Guardians 1 is in terms of like nothing's wasted. Not only is nothing wasted, but its comedy and serious beats are also really finely tuned, right? Like it hits on all cylinders at all times.
Yep.
Yeah.
Super well done.
This goes right back to what I'll just take a little. This goes right back to what happened on Sunday with Savage Worlds, or Savage Eberron, which was going to be a knockdown drag out fight, but because we changed the beat structure, added a new player, rewound the story, and gave them a chance to get some role playing in before they had to go in and fight the bad guy, and then gave them an intermission between that to do the same thing. It wasn't just a night of just, we're fighting stuff. It was fight, role play, some exploration, some investigation. Keep those beats moving in your game so that everybody gets the thing they like in the game. So.
Yeah.
I've spoken.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Bill?
Yeah. So no doubt, if we're going to be talking about things I'm consuming, right? Star Trek's like the number one thing I'm watching, because now I'm not only like keeping up on my DS9, but I'm also keeping up on the next gen stuff that I put into the curated list. So earlier this week, I watched my least favorite Star Trek episode ever, The Skin of Evil. For those of you, I feel like now that now that everybody who's been like in the watch group has seen it, it is literally just, it is the worst episode on so many layers. But
Yes.
the one I'm going to talk about is not the obvious one, because the death of Yar is just off. Like it's just terrible the way they handle it. But what I'm going to tell you is the worst part of this episode is that the weakness of the tar creature, right? I forget its name because it's that forgettable. Is that when it engages its emotions, its power levels drop. And so they figure out they can get Troy and the other officer out of the crashed, not runabout, so shuttlecraft.
Yeah.
They can get him out of the shuttlecraft if this creature's emotions like dip to a certain point, its power levels will drop and they'll transport him out. Now, who is the best character for talking about emotions?
That would
in
be
Star Trek?
Troy.
But who actually gets the monster to get its emotions all riled up so they can transport him out? Picard. They white knighted Troy's moment in the show by beaming Picard down, and then Picard deals with the creature. It gets all enraged, and then they all transport out. And hooray, Picard saves the day and totally totally negates Troy's role in the episode. I would actually love to see this episode if it hadn't been a season 1 episode and had been a season 5 episode, where the writers got much better at writing Troy and stories about her. Because this whole episode would never have had Picard in.
Yeah.
It would have just been Troy versus this creature as she used her empathic powers to steer the creature into weakening itself. And what I want to talk about is niche protection, right? So this is a case, if we're talking about role-playing games, where clearly one of these characters is the counselor. The other one is the captain. And this is a case where, like, the captain, like, alpha player.
Yep.
Right? Like, I'm going to beam down. I'll just use my diplomacy instead of your diplomacy.
Yeah.
Like, you're busting up the niche here. Like, I get Picard's the diplomatic negotiator, but that thing wasn't into negotiating. Like, that thing was the skin of evil. It was all, like, bad feelings and stuff. Like, this was exactly Troy's turf that, the player who played Picard just, like, went and shit all over. So, yeah, I despise this episode. And I used to despise it for the Yar thing, but upon watching it with fresh eyes last week, I was like, oh, no. There's a whole other layer of why this episode is complete trash. Now, one will say, well, Phil, why did you make everybody watch it? But I needed people to watch it because you need to see Tasha Yar die and Worf get promoted to head of security, because the Worf storyline persists far longer, which will persist all the way through next gen and eventually into DS9. So we needed to watch that episode, but upon watching it a second time, like, I really didn't like it, and it did bring up the idea for me about niche protection and about when you're playing a game, letting players do the thing they're good at, right? And I think that also ties back to an earlier thing Jerry had said about if you're going to nerf somebody's power, at least make their other things useful. Mm-hmm. And in this case, they really did a bad job of portraying Troy as this, like, oh, I'm weak and I'm trapped in here and, somebody come save me. And then, Picard comes down and gives it, like, a goodly Picard speech, which, don't get me wrong, I love Picard speeches. Just not this episode. This episode should have been this episode should have been Troy's victory. And you know, when Picard white knights it, it's just it's gross. Like,
Yep.
Plus
dislike.
Plus random cranberry sauce. Remember, we've had a comment about that.
Yeah, yes. The special, again, I'm telling you, when everybody watches the first episode of season 2 tonight, you're going to be like, something has dramatically changed in the show in the terms of quality. The difference between season 1 special effects and season 2 special effects are very, very pronounced. And yes, the raspberry jam blood smear on Yar's face is, I think Senda said it. It was actually hard to engage the scene because you're like, I think there's something on her face. Like, somebody should wipe that off. So it's just, it was painful. Like,
Yeah.
all around, it's a junky episode. And the only reason it made the list, it made the list because of Worf, and it made the list for some future payoffs later in the series. And that is all I will say about that. Bob, what is 14 Blades?
So 14 Blades is a Chinese action film that is currently on Netflix. It's from, I believe, 2010. And it stars Donnie Yen, who we most recently saw, some of us, in Rogue One as the blind, force sensitive.
Oh, yes.
He's a badass. He's awesome. Basically, the gist of this movie is that there is this special organization of warriors that are taken in when they're orphaned as kids, and they're trained to be the baddest ass fighters that there ever were. And whoever is the biggest badass of that group is their leader. And they are used for missions to handle things by the Emperor. And poor Donnie Yen, who plays this leader of this group, essentially he gets betrayed. It's not really a spoiler because it's just how this thing is going to go, but I won't go too deep into detail. He gets betrayed and he ends up on the run. It's got a whole slew of kick-ass action sequences with stunt-filled choreography that's just amazing. It's got themes of duty and honor. It's got a love story in it. It's the only quote-unquote downside for some people. It's essentially you have to watch it with the English subtitles or the dubbing. And dubbing is hit or miss. I usually go with the English subtitles. If you are not into reading subtitles, then, that makes it more difficult. But it is an enjoyable, a super enjoyable movie that was a lot of fun to watch. And the characters, they're great characters in this thing. Now, since most of the stuff that I've been watching has already been talked about before, I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk about 14 Blades. And then I was like, all right, now how do I tie this back to gaming? So you guys can help me out a little bit here.
Having not watched it, I don't know if I don't know how much I can help with specifics, but I think I guess what I would say is that with any action film, I always think that it's great material for how to visualize your own characters fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like watching, like I always find like it's one of the things I've always loved about martial arts movies, like even with the old Shaw Brothers movies and things like that. Like I've always enjoyed how martial arts look on the screen, right? And then I'm always later disappointed how they don't look like that in role-playing games. But as we get to like more narrative style games where it's, tell me what your attack looks like, right? These are the kinds of imagery that I, that I think about, right? Like when I'm looking at a martial arts movie, I'm looking at, what are these cool moves look like? What are these, even like any of the superhero movies? Same thing for superhero, right? For genre emulation. the superhero landing, or what is, like some of the action sequences in the Avengers, right? The original Avengers, where they're weaving between all the characters.
Yeah. And then you've got, the combination of individual fighting styles and essentially signature weapons and signature moves. One of the antagonists in the film, this woman who is ridiculously skilled, she's got this, it's like it's hard to describe. It looks almost like a narrow belt, but it elongates. It's sharp as fuck. And she can get it to do all kinds of wacky stuff. So she's, whipping this thing around and cutting people and causing them to, dodge out of the way and all this stuff. And then she's got this other move that I'm not even going to mention, because the first time you see it on screen, you're like, what just happened? But yeah, I love the differentiation, the distinction between the different styles and the different weapons. The Donnie Yen character, the leader of this elite warrior team, he's got this box which essentially holds the 14 blades, and these 14 blades, each one has a purpose. There's like 6 of them for this, and then there's one for this, and one for that, one for that. And so they go through all of that at the beginning of the movie. But this box is redonkulous. There's like secret compartments and gears and machinery and stuff, and like he'll kick the thing and trigger a thing, and the thing will pop open and it'll fling a sword out to him, and he grabs it in midair, and different stuff like that. It's wild stuff.
Love it.
So anytime you get into that like if I'm in a D&D adventuring party and I'm the fighter, right? And we've also got, a ranger who likes to fight with a sword. Like, let's make these two characters look different. Let's make these two characters fight differently. And, D&D does that already to a certain degree with like 2-weapon fighting versus like sword and board and stuff like that. But like, if you can get into a little deeper, where you talk about your style and how you do things and how you flow when you are in a fight, I think that anything that adds depth to the scene from a description standpoint and color and flavor, I love that stuff. More of it. Gimme.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, it's awesome fodder for your descriptions. It's awesome fodder for character ideas. All of those things.
Yeah, come up with something. Don't be afraid to steal ideas from shows you like. To give your character some flair, the way they look, the way they act, the gear they have. Just because they have a sword doesn't mean it has to be a long sword. It can be any sort of really cool effect as long as you just be skinning it, and that's excellent. A good example in Savage Eberron, Chris has got he fights with 2 short swords, but he treats them like they're kukri, the curved knives.
Sure.
And always describes the fighting style that he uses with them. And that doesn't change the effect of the game, but it does change how the fight looks on the table and in narration, and always go with that kind of stuff. So.
All right. How about really quickly, let's talk about a couple of other gaming related things. We don't actually have to tie these back to actual gaming, but just other gaming related things going on in our lives. Jer?
I'm back to GMing after over a month hiatus because of Mother's Day and a bunch of other things, and the fact that we play every other week. Our game stopped and took I think like a 6-week hiatus. So it's fun to get back into GMing again. I'm looking forward to, this was the end of a story arc, so I'm looking forward to starting the next story arc. And I've been reading a lot more RPGs because of that. So,
sweet.
Just looking forward to it. Phil?
I finished reading the original The Mountain Witch, because I think we all know the remake one's never coming out. So I finished reading it last night, and I want to run it sometime in July. I'm going to handpick a group of people and do a probably like a 3 or 4 session, because the game only supports like a small arc. I'm going to do like a 3 or 4 session game with some online folks people who like ridiculous drama in their games. Yes, I think we all know who one of those players will be when I say ridiculous drama. I had fun reading it. The game has way more words because it was written at a time when the concepts that it was trying to describe were new and fresh, and it needed to be very precise. It read a whole hell of a lot faster when I started reading it. I was like, Most games nowadays do that. We're fine. We're good. Okay, let's go. It does require a little prep, so I'm actually going to have some fun and actually prep it out a little and kind of lay out the castle of the Mountain Witch and things like that. So that should be fun. And talking about laying out castles, Bob, look at that segue.
Ba-dum-bum. Yeah,
Boom.
so I finished the overhead view of Weatherstone from our Forbidden Lands, not Forgotten Realms, Forbidden Lands.
Forbidden Lands. I know, I do the same thing.
Now I'm going to get started, between now and Sunday when our game is, I'm going to get started on one of the side elevation views and then like some of the interior, room breakdowns and stuff like that.
Sweet. Yeah, it's nice. The picture they give you originally is cool when it's just a ruin that you're going to explore, and then like later when you're like, yeah, we're rebuilding it, like
you're going to live here.
It doesn't really help. Yeah, it's not helping. All right, good. Well, that's another evening in the Salon. I suspect we have another one or two of these left in us before I get to a point. You know what? I'm going to say comfortably. We probably have these in us through June, because I'm coming up on a really big project for work, which I'll talk about in the conversation corner. And I really can't commit too much of anything right now. So the Salon, we're gonna have to take out our recyclables and pick up all our Popeye wrappers.
Yep.
And keep this place clean because we're gonna be in here for a little bit longer.
Who left a box of fried rice behind the couch?
Oh, that reminds me. I gotta try to get to some decent Chinese food. Okay.
Well, this is my week of gaming, so I'll be all fired up for next week. So.
Sweetness. All right, do the thing, make the sound, and let's go to the conversation.
We're gonna go to the conversation corner. There we go.
All right.
Super Friends did.
Yeah. So talking about other things that are going on in our lives, Bob, got it?
Yeah. So I sat down today for a while and watched one of the latest in the DC animation for from Warner Brothers.
Sure.
Justice League Dark Apocalypse War.
Oh, I saw like a preview for it. Right.
Yeah.
It looks pretty ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. It was everything that you could hope for because it's one of those stories where, like, they don't care. Just, they're gonna kill people.
Right.
So there's foul language. Like, there's an F-bomb in this movie. There's maiming and dismemberment and killing and, like, it's a bad fight. Okay? It's a couple of bad fights. And, more importantly, the reason why I watched it was because it's got Matt Ryan as John Constantine. And he's just been eating up every opportunity he gets to play this character. He's played it in animated features, 3 different animated features. He's played it in Legends of Tomorrow live action. He had his own live action series for 1 season. And there might even be another thing that he did. But, he loves it, and he's great at it, and it was a lot of fun. It's almost like one of those alternate universe DC animated movies, because there's so much that happens. Like, these are characters, they're not always recognizable as what they're normally like. Not to get too deep into spoiler territory, but Superman gets jacked up, and essentially Darkseid uses liquid kryptonite and tattoos the S on his chest in liquid kryptonite to take his powers away. So he's walking around like Joe Human with this big green glowing S on his chest, and his eyes are glowing green, and he's got no superpowers. And it's like, oh, awesome.
Wow.
So good stuff. I enjoyed the hell out of it. So, and it was, apparently it was part of, it was a direct sequel to the original Justice League Dark animated film. But it was also part of a chain of films that started out with Flashpoint. They did the Flashpoint Paradox, and then there was like 4 other ones, including Justice League Dark and Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, that rounded out like this kind of meta arc of the animated universe. So very interesting stuff. I missed a couple of the movies in there that were related to it, but I may go back and hunt those down.
Cool.
Good time.
Yeah, it sounds pretty wild.
Yeah. I love seeing like people getting all jacked up like that in the DC universe. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, I like when they do like an alternate universe thing and are like, cool, we're gonna take the safeties off. Like, we give you it's safe, right? Like, we're gonna give you an alternate view of this story, but we're not gonna mess with your not gonna mess with your good story. Jerry,
I'm just reading a lot of new old role-playing games. Part of it's in prepping for the next story arc I'm going to run. Also, just got some game design ideas in mind, and what I like to do is reread little role-playing games, kind of see where the origins come from. So, just poking through a couple of them. I'm thinking that I want to try to run a few things later on this year. I still think I want to try to run Star Frontier for you guys for one session, just because we keep talking about it.
Yeah.
And I'm also trying to unpack TMNT with another strangeness. Not sure that one's going to go so well. Gladium is always a tough system to run.
I'll show you how to just ignore parts of it and it runs smooth. I used to play it wrong a lot. Like it was a much easier game when you just played it wrong.
Well, that's the thing is, do you guys want to play a game the way it's written, or do you want to play the game the way that we always played it? Because those are two different things.
Yeah.
I'll always try to play it the way it's written once, just to just to give it the feel. But yeah, Palladium's a little chunky.
It's the old thing we always talk about. How many of us playing first edition AD&D have used weapon speed for more than about half an adventure? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and how about you, Phil?
I said at the top of the show, right? Like I was a little, I was a little floundering in terms of my mental health last week. I had a really good session with my therapist, and I've started doing this thing where I spend my evenings like slowly de-escalating, because I was ending my evenings very anxious, and when I'm anxious, I just don't go to sleep. So I'm not a person who lies in bed tossing and turning. If I don't think I'm going to fall asleep, I don't go to bed. Right? So I just stay up watching YouTube, TikTok, something ridiculous. So in talking to my therapist about it, like first we agreed that Twitter needs to stop in the evening. At some point, which now for me is like 11 p.m., I just stop looking at Twitter altogether. And just put it away. I don't bother looking at it again. In the past year or so, Twitter is just not, I don't know. It used to be for me a happy escape. And now it's not as happy for good reasons. Yeah. Twitter Space is angry. Twitter Space is vocal. And I am doing my best to retweet and read and learn from it. But it also leaves me very anxious. So around 11, I call it quits for the day. I'll pick it up again tomorrow. And then around 1 o'clock, so I usually go hang out with you guys at 11 and jump on the Minecraft server and play some games. But the other thing is I also put my phone into screen time mode. So at 11, it actually locks me out of all social media. Not that I can't bypass it, but it's just a subtle reminder. If I open my phone, Twitter, TikTok, and all those things are grayed out and are they're off limits till 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. And then the last thing I did to kind of calm down is that an hour before I go to bed, so I go to bed at 2 because I'm not commuting right now. So I can get up at 7:30 and still get a decent amount of Phil sleep, not regular people sleep, because I think the rest of you need a little more than I do. So what I do is at 1:00, I sign off from Minecraft, say goodnight to you guys, and I go read a physical book. Not anything on my iPad, not digital comics, nothing with a screen. I go and read a good, honest, paper cover pages book. And man, does that make me tired. I can almost never do the whole hour. Like, I just... Like, after I start reading it, like, my eyes are getting all sleepy or whatever. And then at that point, I'm done. Like, I've been disconnected from social media for a couple hours. I am away from bright screens that are stimulating me. And I'm reading, and I used to always read before I go to bed, so reading always makes me tired. Even if I'm, like, sitting up in a bright room, if I start reading, I get sleepy. And so I've been doing that for the last couple nights. I don't do it on the weekends. I gave myself the weekends off, but I've been doing it. I've been doing it during the week, and I've done it for the last couple nights, and I've gotten like 5.5 hours of sleep, which is perfect for me. And I've been up. I've been clear-headed for work. I have been able to get through a ton of stuff in the office, which is really good because I'm 2 weeks out from this really big project, and I feel a lot better. I still engage social media during the day. I still retweet a lot of angry stuff and yell at the government and shake my fist at things.
Yep.
And I'm happy to do that, but I drew a line, and in the evening, I just kind of stepped myself down for my own well-being, and I feel a lot better. So like, hat tip to my therapist for kind of walking me through, like, as I explained what the problems were, she kind of helped me kind of get to this idea that I really needed to, like, slowly wind down. You know, otherwise my anxiety is just going to run away with me, which is what it was doing. I was staying up till like 3-4 o'clock every morning and getting up at 7:30. Like, I was a mess. Like, I was really, like, I was in bad shape last week. But I feel a lot better now. I feel a lot, like, clear-headed, and I'm not exhausted, which is great. I'm drinking less coffee. I'll always drink coffee, don't get me wrong. Coffee is always my first love. But I don't need to drink it. Like, I'm not drinking it strategically right now. I'm just having it when I feel like it. So yeah, it feels like it's good. Like, it was really it was a need. I mean, this whole time in lockdown, the need for self-care. Like, I have never been good about self-care for myself. And if I've learned any little thing during the pandemic, I've learned to do a much better job of self-caring for myself. And, you know, I do it some days better than others. I felt, you know, when everything happened with the protests and stuff, I like fell off the deep end because I was like, I had just stabilized over the pandemic thing and was like, I think I got a handle on this. And then, you know, 2020 took another jump for, you know, its darker future, like more bleak, more horrible. And I didn't handle it well. Like, I did not, I'm still not handling it great. Like, I'm furious at, like, Twitter is a place where I go and read and watch things, and I'm not liking the way the world looks. I say that. I'm liking that people are doing stuff, but it is rough.
Yeah.
And it took a toll on me. And I will say this, right? It took a toll on me, and I am, like, as privileged as fuck, right? Like, I'm a white, middle-aged, middle-class dude. So there are people who have been are dealing with this way more intense than I am.
Yeah.
And I don't even have words because, like, the things that I processed was so much, that, you know, and I'm really pretty removed from most of it. So I've been doing what I can do, right? Like, I'm doing the things that, like, I can do. Donate money. Use my platform to amplify other people's messages and voices and things like that, right? I'm not in great shape. I'm not in great shape. I'm kind of old. Marching a protest is like, I'm not going to be running. Like, I can't be running from the cops. Like, I'll just get caught, right? And like, so I'm putting myself where I can be, where I can try to be helpful. Anyway, it has come. I fell into it really hard, and fortunately, I have access to a therapist who knows me very well and was able to kind of talk me through how to find my way, like, to some sort of balance, like not abandon it, right? Because it'd be super privileged of me to be like, I'm not dealing with this, right? And just walk away from it, but really find a balance where I can still be engaged, aware, angry, and do stuff, but at the same time, not burn myself up doing it. So anyway, sorry, it's a bit heavy. On a lighter note of that, I got this really kick-ass X-Men T-shirt. I'm not wearing it today. Today, in honor of Pride, I'm wearing my Fate Overcome T-shirt. I don't know how much of it's showing up here, but if you've seen the enameled pin, I have the T-shirt as well. But I got this X-Men comic T-shirt. That, remember the boxes that were up in the corner where the price was? So it says 40 cents. And then it's got Cyclops. It's got the John Byrne. It's got the Cyclops, Storm, Colossus, Wolverine, Nightcrawler heads on it.
Nice.
I'm going to wear it on Friday. I'm going to wear it to the luncheon. I like it. It's cool. I'm digging it.
Nice.
So, anyway, I'll leave it on that. I'll leave it on that little more of a, upbeat. And with that, we should jump right into our patron shoutouts, hit our closing, pause for a second so we don't get yelled by the bosses, and then the after show.
Yeah. All right, Patreon shoutouts. Jen, Pixelscape, Skagme, Jim Fitzpatrick, Joseph Peralta, Michael Rollins, Mike Amer, Ninjabi, The Rainmaker, Richard Ruane, Rory McLeod, and Savannah Sizer. Thank you for being our patrons. And thank you to everyone for listening.
If you are free on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. the Queen's Time, you're welcome. Come join us live on Twitch, where you can hang out in the awesome chat room for life, chat it up with the unbelievably excellent humans who occupy that chat room. And, if you get around to it, you can ask us the occasional question.
And if you cannot make it to the live show, check out our podcast each week, wherever you get your podcasts. And take a listen to some of the other shows in the Misdirected Mark Network, such as Down with D&D, Bone Stone and Obsidian, the FM Gamers, Pandas Talking Games, the Gnome Cast, John Who Hustle, The Lounge, She's a Super Geek, and Bonus Experience. You can and should also check out our sibling podcasts, The Tabletop Bellhop, Hi Mo, The Knights of the Night, and the always amazing Gaming and BS.
After your third round of mind control and you start to come back to the world, leave us some feedback. You can reach us directly in the old-fashioned emails, mmp@misdirectedmark.com. Hit us up on Twitter. The show and the network is at MisdirectedMark. He is Robert M. Everson. He is GM Gerrymander, and I am DNA Phil. By the way, the hand gestures are the way I see you in Zoom.
Of course. So, if you like what we do here and any other shows in the Misdirected Mark Network, you can support our Patreon campaigns. MMP, Down with D&D, and Pandas Talking Games are at patreon.com/MMP. She's a Super Geek is at patreon.com/SassGeek. Zhenghu Hustle is at patreon.com/Zhenghu Hustle. And Bonus Experience is at patreon.com/Bonus Experience. Patrons of MMP, Down with D&D, and Pandas Talking Games get access to the after show, pre-production show notes, musical parodies, the Pandas Talking Games bonus outtakes, and other special releases.
And this right here, this has been a Misdirected Mark production, the media arm of Encoded Designs. Mic drop.
Yout.